All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Talking Buffalo Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. I am your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for locking in. Video side, audio side, doesn't matter. I appreciate you all. It is Casual Friday. That means, as always, I'm going to be joined by good friend, co-host of the Maintenance Day podcast, my man Joe Yerdon. We talked for a couple of minutes before this tape is rolling here and the camera is rolling, and we're going to do our best. That's all I can say. We're going to do our best to stay positive and talk sports. I'll let you know right from the beginning. We're going to be doing the Sabres sent out a game night survey to fans, I think season ticket holders recently, and I saw it on Twitter, and I said, you know what, this would be a really good topic. So going to go through a bunch of things about the Sabres game night experience, and I'm going to get Joe's take on all those. We'll talk a little bit of Rochester Amherst / Sabres prospects. And, of course, our starting five this week, we're going to do TV villains. So we do got our normal fun, casual Friday stuff planned.
Right.
We'll do our best. It's not easy, though, man. It's really hard to balance moving forward and doing what we're supposed to do versus – I don't know. It's really hard to even say. We're certainly turning no blind eye to what's going on. It's just really tough, man. But how you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Sorry, I'm laughing because there's a car alarm going off in the neighborhood now. I'm just kind of, that's a perfect capper. Oh yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, you know, listen, I was on vacation last week in Myrtle Beach, which is why I was away last week, but it was great down there. I got to tell you, Myrtle Beach, having been to Miami and Myrtle Beach is very much like Miami light, very, very light. Like we're talking like skim milk light. Like you get a lot of like stuff where you're just kind of like, yeah, that reminds me of Miami. And then like everything else is like, no, it's not like Miami at all. But it was nice. It was nice. I got a tour of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans ballpark. They're a single A squad, Cubs farm team. Super park, absolutely beautiful park for a single A team. Like, you know, our expectations are pretty low for what a stadium is going to be like. No, man, theirs is nice. Theirs has been around since like 97 or 98. It still looks great. So
really
good for them, man. Like it's nice to see like teams able to do that and, you know, have fun with it. And the Cubs have taken care of them too. So it's nice.
That's cool. Let me say one thing. There's one thing I want to talk about with everything that's going on. I can't talk about Texas today. I'm not ready to. I'll lose my shit, and we won't end up having a podcast that talks about anything else. This kind of circles back to Buffalo because, to your point, you were on a family vacation last week, so weren't on the show, and this obviously happened a little less than 2 weeks ago now. So I haven't really talked to you about any of them. And again, we're not going to get into details and all that stuff. We already know. There's one thing, Joe, that I can't get over when something like this happens. And of course it hits harder when it's in your own backyard, obviously. Mm-hmm. You know, it hits hard no matter where, but when it's in your own backyard, it feels like the world stops, you know? Mm-hmm. And the anger that the victims' families and their most loved ones are going to feel it's going to get a lot worse. And that's what bothers me the most. And I just want to, listen, I never will compare senseless murders, because they're all horrible and they all take away from your loved ones in an unfair way. But I want to reference, I had a very close friend. She wasn't blood family, but she was family. And back in 2009, she was 25 years old. Her name was Renee Greco, and some people familiar who are with Buffalo might remember this. She was a troubled youth care worker at a group home in Lockport. And and I don't want to get all the details, but she was murdered by two kids there, one kid mainly. And this was back in 2009. And what I remember years and years later about it the most, and this is what sucks the most, is when it happens, you're almost numb and in shock. And the media, I mean, it wasn't obviously a national story like what happened at Tops to that point, but it was a national story. And obviously it was the story locally. I mean, all the news media was there. And what I remember to this day about it is the outpouring of love and support from the community, which, with the tragedy and tops that's going on, we've seen a lot of that. And it's very uplifting. And it is. It really, truly is. And I remember feeling that outpouring of love, and it helps you get through. And then you have the funeral and everything like that. But there comes a time, Joe, where people, and you understand why, because the average person, you, me, most people, we're devastated by what happens. And then we take to social media or dinner table and we get mad and we're angry and we bitch about it. Sometimes we donate to funds, we thoughts and prayers, but then you keep moving along in life. That's just the way life goes for all of us. Well, for those victims and their families, when that funeral's over and the media is not covering as much anymore and that outpouring of love is not there and people go back to their lives, that's when it gets the hardest. And that's what I remember from when Renee got murdered is once that was all done and everybody moves on with their life, that's when the biggest sense of anger and loneliness sets in. And for these victims in Buffalo right now, they're not there yet because funerals are just happening, but it's going to happen soon. And that's what depresses me more than anything else, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. And with everything that's been going on, it's just nobody has a chance to breathe. Nobody has a chance to grieve about any of this,
Yeah.
Like this whole area has just been, righteously upset, righteously angry about what's happened. And, I'm very happy to see so many people have come out in support of the people of the East Side because,
it's been great.
It's not just, it's, the victims are, it's horrible what happened to them, but it's, it's something that cripples an entire region of the area, and that shines a light on a lot of faults of this whole city. And it's been good to see a lot of attention being brought to that. It would be better if that attention leads to changes, leads to things happening over there, because this city's been, broken for the better part of 50, 60 years. And, this whole thing is really shining a light on it because, this is straight up hatred. This is, it's racism. It's horrible. And, that's nothing. That's nothing anybody wants to face up with this area, but like, it's like one of those things that's kind of, not wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but just kind of like, yeah, that's expected. Kind of, sort of, that's the way it is. It's the way it's always been. And, that ain't right. Like that, it takes a big change. And I'm hoping that this can lead to changes happening. It's tough to be optimistic about it because it's a lot of talk, and a lot of talk these days really leads to action.
Yeah, I agree. And you were on vacation last week, so you talk about the community outpouring. I don't know how much you got to see. I know you weren't on social media all that much, which I don't blame you last week. But the Bills and the Sabres and the Bandits, current players and alumni coming was really good. And Bruce Smith, to me, I don't know if you got a chance to see any of his interviews on the site. I just got a whole new level of respect for him. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Bruce has been trying to shine a light on this back when he played here,
Absolutely.
And a lot of that was just kind of like, oh, what are you going to do? Well, a bunch of evil people sent him letters, but nothing that can be done about it. I don't know, man. Sure seems like something that should have been something that had a lot more attention paid to it. If people, I mean, granted, 90s being what it is, there's no social media, there's no internet, there's none of that stuff. But people going out of their way to write letters to say horrible things directly to Bruce Smith, like that man tried to shine a light on all this stuff in Buffalo, and people were just kind of like shrug their shoulders and say like, well, it's always been that way. What do you want? And that's the kind of thing that really gets me upset. I can't get rolling on it because I'll roll for a long time.
Right. We're angry, and we're trying to balance being angry and frustrated and upset versus having a Talking Buffalo podcast, a casual Friday show where we like to kind of kick off our shoes and have a little fun. So let's try doing that, because again, we could literally do an entire podcast and then some. This could become a series of all the beef and the issues that we have. that's going on with social media and just the world right now, period. But let's kind of, and there is no easy transition to get into our regular podcast today. I will say one thing, again, going back to you being gone last week on a family vacation, one of my favorite annual things happened. And I forgot to tell you about this beforehand, but the Toronto Maple Leafs lost again in the first round.
Yes.
And that is always music to my ears. And this is Patty Pat speaking, or, Patty Pat speaking right now. It always makes me happy. And I still can't get over this graphic. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, if not, I'll describe it. As shitty as the Sabres have been for like the last decade, and it's been an absolute laughingstock and an embarrassment, at the end of the day, the Buffalo Sabres have won a playoff series more recently than the Toronto Maple Leafs. 2007 for the Sabres. The Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a playoff series since 2004. And I got another graphic that just perfectly symbolizes the Toronto Maple Leaf fan base. This guy just got his hand over his head saying, basically, what the fuck? Year after year. Now, again, playing Tampa Bay, no easy task or whatever. But look, no excuses, man. Another year, another talented roster on paper. By the way, a team that the Sabres kind of semi-own for some crazy reason. But, man, Toronto, no playoffs or no, another first-round exit. Like,
might as well be no playoffs.
Right.
It's, it's crazy. I had to go back and look at it. The Sabres have won 4 playoff series since the last time the Maple Leafs have won one, which is nuts. I mean, the last time they won was the pre-lockout era. I mean, the big lockout, the one that shut down the league for a season. Like, that's the last time they won. They won when it was the old days, basically. Like, the Stone Age, neutral zone trap garbage NHL era. Like, that's the last time they won. And I don't know. It's crazy. Like, the flashpoint discussion with a lot of the Leafs media is like, well, they got to trade somebody. They got to move somebody now. And the other point is, from a lot of more the Twitter users, internet smart people are like, no, run it back with the same group. And I'm like, the same group, the same exact group. Like, I don't know, man. Like, when you don't win a series after 3 years of being a truly great team. And I know, like, the big complaint is like, well, the playoff system's unfair. Like, I don't know, man, win the division. Crazy idea. Yeah. I know, win the division, play some garbage wild card team in the first round, move on. Like, they had their chances in the bubble. They had their chances, the following year. Like, beat somebody, beat anybody, beat Columbus, beat somebody. Like, do something positive, but it's always, with the Leafs, it's always something. But like, they're great up front. They can score with anybody. Kind of questionable on defense. They got to keep Mark Giordano. Like, all right, whatever. He's an older guy. Like, cool. Fine. But like, is Jack Campbell their guy? I don't know. He had a nice season. I don't know. I don't know. Jack Campbell's a great dude. Love Jack Campbell. But like, is he the guy? Like, I don't know. Like, they've had so many goalie issues in the past with Freddie. Freddie Anderson. Like, I don't know what you do, man. Like, and like Freddie's missing time with Carolina right now, and the Hurricanes seem to be doing okay. Like, they won a round or two. So, or they won a round, I should say. But like, it's still one more round than the Leafs have won. So, like, I mean, it's crazy. But like, I'm torn because like I think they need to make some kind of change. Like, they gotta find a way to kind of stir it up a little bit. But like, I don't know what you do there. Like, to me, the biggest idea of what you have to do there is a move they probably would never make. And like, it's not Austin Matthews. He's he's the best player in the league. But it's probably Morgan Riley. Because I think if he's your number one defenseman, you're lacking. I love Morgan. Love him. I think he's a great defenseman. I don't think he's a number one though.
It's petty again. And it reminds me of another thing too. And I admit it, it's petty. I mean, at the end of the day, this fan base has supported a bunch of losers for the last decade. So you lash out and you take pride and joy in your biggest rival choking in the playoffs. It kind of reminds me a little bit, and I understand both sides now. Like, the Miami Dolphins ain't done shit in years. They've stunk, and the Bills are good. And the Bills have won playoff games, but the Bills haven't gotten to the Super Bowl. Miami's won a Super Bowl. We hear about that all the time from Miami fans. You never won the big one. this and that. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Like the Miami fans every year when the Bills lose in the playoffs, whether it's the AFC Championship game, whether it's the divisional round, whatever it may be, they poke fun at the Bills fans and they talk their shit. That's kind of what we're doing now with Toronto. It's like,
yeah,
you know, they're good enough to get into the playoffs. They're good enough on paper to have one of the better teams in the league, but they lose in the playoffs, and that's all that really matters. So either way you look at it, like I said, it's just petty as shit.
Listen, that's a part of being a fan. You can be petty. You can celebrate the misery of your hated opponents. That's the whole, that's half the point of sport. Now, don't be a dick about it. Obviously, don't run up to every fan and just get in their face and be like, "You loser, you stink." Like you're not going to do that, because then that's how fist fights start. But like, here's the thing: like the Sabres are getting better. Like that division's impossibly hard.
So are the Miami Dolphins, and the AFC's impossibly hard. A lot of parallels to draw here.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, the Panthers are the President's Trophy winner. They got bounced by their rival, Tampa, 4 games. See ya, gone. Second straight year they've lost to Tampa. I mean, that's when your rivalry is that in the playoffs, it's a hammer versus nail rivalry. The hammer wins.
Just remember, folks, if you're a fan of the Sabres and the Bills, which in Kim Bagula's world apparently is very rare, because you can't be fans of both, but
10%, man.
Just don't be a hypocrite. Again, if you're going to take pride in the Leafs losing and talk shit to their fans, don't be mad at Miami Dolphins fans who talk shit about the Bills not getting to the big one. That's all I'm saying. It goes both ways. Anyway,
it solves that. Get to the big one, win. Yeah, get to the big.
Exactly.
And if you're the Sabres, get back to the playoffs and win another playoff round before the Leafs. Maybe beat the Leafs in the first round.
How amazing would that be? Oh my God.
That's the ultimate. You can't talk shit forever move. Until you win a playoff round, it's still like, yeah, well, you didn't beat us. Too bad.
Here's what I want to do. I want to take a really quick break now, and then we're going to come back. And like I said, the Sabres sent out a fan survey to season ticket holders to evaluate their game night experiences. I ain't been to the arena in many years, especially sitting in the seats as a fan. Joe knows a lot more about this topic than I do. So quick break, and then I'm going to get his thoughts on Sabres game night experience. Be right back, folks. All right, I am back with Joe Yerdon, and let's just get right into it. So I'll put the graphic up and keep it up on YouTube, and for people who are listening on Spotify and Apple, which is far more people than are watching this on YouTube, I will we'll talk about them one by one. Mm-hmm. So again, the Sabres sent out a survey to fans, and the question was, how well do you think attending a Buffalo Sabres game delivers on the factors you look for in attending a hockey game? And there's 4 choices. Now, and if you're watching this on YouTube, these are pre-marked. It's because I got the screenshot off Twitter from somebody who had this, and this was their opinion, so it's not necessarily Joe's or anyone else's, just to let you know that. But anyway, there's 4 categories. There's very weak, there's slightly weak, there's slightly strong, and there's very strong, and there's, I don't know, roughly 10 or so categories. So some of these you might have more thoughts than others, but let's just kind of jump into it right now. So the first one was the chance to receive a giveaway, such as a bobblehead or to catch a free shirt. How do you evaluate that?
Is there something below very weak? I would like to pick below very weak. I don't know if you remember a few years back where their big, fan appreciation giveaway were very cheap sunglasses, and it only went to the first 10 or 15,000 fans. Mm-hmm. And that was the only giveaway they did the entire season, I think. That alone encapsulates what the team's about. Now they've done some they did the Eichel bobblehead the one year. And they did the Eichel bobblehead the one year. But you look at what some of these other teams, yeah, there it is. Pat's showing it on video right now. But you look at what other teams do, you see what the Blackhawks do or the Sharks do or some of these other teams, and you go to the mat, and these are teams that are, recently historically very good teams, and they're just whatever, man, we got to do something. We got to do stuff for our fans to keep them happy. And you know what? It's amazing how far that goes, but this team does not do that. Whether, I think the prevailing thought back in the day was why do we have to give the fans anything? We give them a winning team.
Sure.
Which, I guess that's one way to look at it. It's a really it's a really shitty way to look at it. But like, when your team hasn't won for 10 years, man, I'd give away everything. Like, manufacture every sort of like knickknack, giveaway, whatever. Just find something to give people, because what else is the reason to go to a game? To watch the team. Like, well, if the team stinks, why do you want to watch? Like, why do you want to go pay money to watch them? Just sit at home on TV, turn the game off after the first period, and call it a night. Like,
yeah,
you can't do that when you go to the game. I mean, you could walk out after the first period, but you just paid whatever amount of money in, ticket, food, parking, all that stuff to go watch and be pissed off. Like, no, you got to make it. You have to do stuff to make it worthwhile for fans to like give them some juice to like go to a game. Like, I don't know if I want to go to the game. Well, they're giving away, I don't know, like a take home cooler or something. Like, take some nods from what baseball teams do. Like,
sure,
major league teams have to do promotions all freaking season long because they got 81 games. Not every, nobody sells out every game in baseball. Like, that's impossible. Hockey, you can. It's very, many teams have done it for numerous years in a row. I mean, granted, they're, Stanley Cup winners or, big time winners, but like, those teams still do giveaways. They still do stuff. Tie it in, figure it out, and just don't shoot t-shirts into the crowd, man. Like, that's a cop out. Like, that's, 10 people might leave the night with a shirt. So what? Like, that's not a giveaway. That's just like, I don't know, throw the peasants some bread at like a Shakespeare, Shakespeare show back in the 1300s. Just like, I give the groundlings their gruel. It's fine.
There's
like,
bars,
that's a throwaway shit.
There are bars that give away shirts more effectively than the Sabres do at game nights. All right, so Joe says that it is less than very weak. Very weak is being generous there. All right, next one. Easy to purchase tickets for where I want to sit.
It's kind of a trick question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus.
I mean, it's very easy to pick where you want to sit. There's tons of tickets. Like, that's
exactly.
I mean, crying out loud. Like, I mean, from just available from the team. I'm not even talking about, secondary market, which, in the past has been the thing. It wasn't this past year because nobody got season tickets. Like that was the big reason. But like, yeah, it's really easy to buy tickets. Buy them on the app, buy them online, do whatever you want. Like, go to the box office, fine. Pick where you want to sit, great. Probably get a whole section if you wanted to. But no, I mean, obviously that might change with the team getting better. But yeah, it's not, to me, that's very strong. Like, that's getting a seat where you want to sit is not a problem. Price, whatever. Like, what you're getting into when you're going to a major sporting event. Like, that's neither here nor there. And the Buffalo tickets compared to the other teams, really cheap. So, and I know cheap for the NHL is still kind of expensive here, but whatever. No, it's very strong. You have no problem getting a ticket.
I feel like that should be a survey question from like 2007. Then there might have been some thought required to that. Not really so much right now. Next one, luxurious seating areas and other exclusive amenities.
You're really picking out a small part of the fan base for that stuff. Like, how many people are getting sweet tickets? How many people are getting access to like the Lexus Club? How many people are getting access to these things? I know you need to attract people who have money. I get it. Like, that's part of the game. But like the regular fan ain't gonna get a chance to do that much. Like, maybe through work, maybe they got somebody who's, they got a rich friend or something. That's, that to me is something where I could not care less. Like, that's, if you gave me an option to pick something where it was like, don't give a shit, that's the box I'm picking, because I don't make if I'm regular Joe fan and I'm Joe A fan, not Joe. I'm not regular Joe fan. Let's be clear on that. But if I'm just like some regular dude with a normal ass job, just want to get tickets, I don't give a shit else about the luxury areas. I ain't never seeing them. I'm never going to be there. I don't care about what kind of fancy ass food you have there. I'm never eating it. I'm not going to get whatever fancy beers you got there because I'm never going to be in that section. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Leave it out. If you make it like a party zone, open to everybody, make that worthwhile. Make that something for everybody. Not that friggin' blue zone shit they've got in there now, which is just a joke. Like, that's just an area for people to mill around and slam beers. Like, you don't get there's nothing special in there. You don't get anything extra out of that. You're not doing anything. Like, anything that's luxury with surveys like this for all the fans, fuck that. No, it's the last thing. It's the last thing I want to be answering questions about with a team that can't win games, that can't do anything right. That I don't care about what rich people want.
All right. So Joe Yerdon pleads the fifth on that question. And he refuses to even answer it.
I give it the DGS. Don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit. All right. Next one, casual/relaxing place to watch the game.
Okay. Now this one is slightly weak, and I already talked about the blue zone. Like that's kind of casual. That's kind of whatever. If you want to have, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, things that I've seen elsewhere. Like there's, I don't know, like some kind of like a brewery tie-in, or like a bar, big bar tie-in, that you could have it just be like, hey, you got a ticket to the game already, but if you want to watch the game and say, okay, Southern Tier's attached to the Harbor Center. Say you want to watch it in the Southern Tier, tap room lounge. Cool. Great. Like I'll sit in there and slam, 2X IPAs and probably get escorted out of the arena after the middle of the second period. But like that's the kind of thing that should be there. Like, yeah, that's something that needs work, but there's things in place already. So it's slightly weak. They've got some stuff. Do some more.
Okay. Modern, up-to-date venue. Which I got to take, not a take, I got an anecdote on this afterwards, but modern, up-to-date venue.
What did I say about the giveaways? Like, what's less than very weak? Because it's less than whatever I give the giveaways. It's a decrepit husk of what it was back in 1997. None of the seats have changed. They barely power washed anything. There's rusting cup holders in every level. There's broken seats all over the place. You have rusty screws sticking out from some of these cup holders. The seats stink. Everything smells like stale beer. All this stuff is broken. This is a functionally disgusting facility. It needs so much work. It's unbelievable. I cannot just walking around. If you just went into the arena, walked around the concourse, you get into that back side of it, the side of the arena that faces out towards the mills. You're walking down like a doomed hallway because there's no lights, there's no windows, there's nothing looking out there. Like you're just walking around like, where the hell am I? And what's going on here? Like, yeah, at least on the other side, you know where you are. Like you're just like, okay, the street to get out is over there. Like, but the other side, you're just like, what the hell's going on here? There's no, they're like, and all the stands are shitty. Like, it's a disgusting, broken facility that needed updating 10 years ago.
Here is an unrelated to what you're talking about today. Here's a fun fact or humble brag, self high five, whatever you want to call it. I actually remember I covered the first game ever at the Keybank Center.
Wow.
As a media member. I shouldn't say I'll never forget it because I have forgotten a lot. I do remember being there for the first time ever at the arena. I remember the tour before the first game. I remember being in the press box for the first game. I don't remember who they played. I remember the score. I know they got their ass whooped, though. They lost bad at home. I remember that. But I was there literally on day one of the arena, and I also covered the last Sabres game ever at the Memorial Auditorium, and I also covered the last event ever at the which, by the way, was not the Sabres game. It was actually a WCW wrestling event. That was the last event
What a way to go out.
At the But I do. So when I say that I can remember the Keybank Center now, that's what it's called, from day one. Literally, it was from day one. And I'm just reminiscing because I do remember how exciting and fresh and new it felt at that time. And now you look back, what is it, from 97? I can't do the math, whatever it is, years later. It's a
Pat, I know how long it's been because that's when I graduated high school. It's been 25 years.
Oof. Well, in 25
they've done nothing in 25 years. I've done stuff in 25 years. They've done nothing with that place in 25 years.
Yeah, they've just let it ride for 25 years now. All right, let's go. Friendly staff.
Yeah, no, people are great.
Yeah.
I mean, and in my instances of going to an event there, like as a participant, not a media person, like people are great.
Yeah,
people are super. I've been to a few, wrestling events, concerts, like whatever. Like people are super. All the people I see behind the scenes, awesome people, security people, like everybody backstage, super. So yeah, that's not a problem. The people are not a problem.
Okay. Next one was comfortable seats.
No,
you just
I don't know. Is my ass going to fall through this one? Like, is it going to collapse underneath me? Is it already broken by the time I get to the seat? No, the seats are not very comfortable.
Modern, up-to-date scoreboard / jumbotron.
I think we know the answer to this one. It's the same board they put up after the first one collapsed when they built the arena. I don't know if I think they've done some mild updates to it, but it's still old. Like, it needs an update. Like, every other arena that came around the same time as this one, they've all updated their boards. Philly's got a huge board. Who else? Some places have already gotten new arenas since then, but like Colorado, Pepsi Center's got a new board. Tampa Bay did like a whole overhaul of their entire arena, which is what this place needs. They put in a giant scoreboard. Now, I'm not saying like you need a giant super duper video board here. I don't think you do. But you need something different. You need something that's got some more screens to it. Maybe something like what they got at Madison Square Garden. Something with lots of info, lots of room for sponsors, and then lots of room for like high quality video and stuff. Like they need better.
Okay. The next one was access to exclusive club areas to watch the game. That's another do not give a shit. I already know from you, so we can gloss over that. That's good food and beverage.
It's pretty weak.
Yeah,
it's pretty. I don't know. It's somewhere between slightly and very weak. Just because I mean, you're kind of limited on food stuff because listen, everybody's gonna have hot dogs, pretzels, popcorn, all that stuff. Like, that's basic stuff. Lenovo pizza, like, it's not the same stuff you're not gonna get from the pizzeria, that's for sure. But
right.
If I'm Lenovo, I'm kind of like, guys, let's step up the quality here. Like, let's go. But yeah, I mean, they could do better. I mean, they do like the special food stuff that they offer, but I don't know if they only offer that in the Lexus Club or the 200 level club or whatever whatever the hell else is going on there. I don't know if they just offer it there. And they always do that, weird stuff for Sabre season, which, hey, whatever, that's neat. But most people aren't going to be getting that. Like, you need to have quality, and they use Salen's dogs, which is good. Pretzels, whatever, basic stuff. Popcorn, who cares? They pop 10 tons of popcorn in the beginning of the season, so let it sit in bags all year. It's like it's one of those things. But it could always be better. Beer selection, whatever. You want more variety. I think that's the key for beer, just more variety. But you need your standby stands for the regular stuff that people only want blues or blue lights, or they want Coors Lights or whatever. Like, you can have that stuff plentifully, but maybe a few more stands of craft stuff. You've got 8 zillion craft brewers in the city of Buffalo. I don't know. Come up with a plan to get something to work with them. Work with Big Ditch, work with Resurgence, work with everybody. Work with Flying Bison, work with all these places. Like, work with Southern Tier. Like, just do something with all these places. And, find a way to make it work. That's where like a giant craft beer stand would work. I don't know. That'd be a cool thing to have in a giant arena. That's a huge beer city. That wild idea.
I'm a very basic person, so I'm easy to please with food and drink. So all I need is a Bud Light and a hot dog, and I'm good. So I'm the wrong person to have a take on this. To your point, though, because you did mention Lenovo's, it's funny. So when I moved to Florida in 2016, I think the next year in 2017, I remember coming back to Buffalo, and it might have been the last Sabres game I've actually been at. But I remember being really, really, really excited about having some Lenovo's at the game because I grew up on the West Side. I love Lenovo's Pizzeria.
Yeah,
you live near Lenovo's. I know you love Lenovo's too. I remember I got 2 slices there. I can't remember how much it cost, but it was a lot. And I remember
$25, I'm sure.
It was something close to that probably. What I remember about it wasn't the price. What I remember is that it tasted like shit. I was like, this ain't real Lenovo's. So anyway, I just throw that out.
You're getting
a
poor representation of Lenovo.
Absolutely, a very poor representation because I love Lenovo's anyway, but that's what happens when you go to the game. All right, a couple more here. Arena is clean and well maintained.
It's clean to a point. I've seen the folks after Sabres games come through, sweeping up and picking up after everybody comes through. Those people work very hard.
Sure.
They work extremely hard. So does most everybody that's on the janitorial staff and all of them. I'll never knock on those folks ever. Like, they're marching to the orders that they're given.
Sure.
But like, for general, like, overall cleanly, like, if you walk into the arena, like, you kind of know what you're getting into, Like things are going to smell a little bit, it's not, I mean, we're not talking like old Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium days where you walk through the concourse and it smells like, stale beer and piss. Like it ain't like that, but funky beer smell, that's hanging around. Like that's a thing. But like, I don't know, rent a power washer for a week and just go to town on the whole place and see what you can do to make it look a little bit nicer inside. Because listen, the lighting's as good as it's going to be in there. Like lighting's fine, but the lighting's fine helps shine a light on how dirty everything else is.
Yeah. Two more here. Variety of food options, which you've we talked more about the beer before.
Yeah.
But variety of food options.
It needs work. I'd say it's slightly weak. I wouldn't say it's strong, but it, could use a few extra things.
Okay. Last one here. Easy to get around and find what I'm looking for.
Now, I don't really pay attention to the signage in there. I'll be honest.
Because more times than not, you're there to work and you go right up to the box. You're not really touring around the arena much.
Right. And anytime we've had to use like an alternate route to get up to the press box, because sometimes the giant freight elevator that's the only way to get up there. It doesn't work. We're taking weird ways to get up there anyway. So it's not, that's not the proper experience. But from what I can tell, like all the aisles are properly numbered. All the sections are properly numbered. I think you can figure out where you're going. I don't know about like where the signage for restrooms and things like that. I don't know how that works. So, I mean, in my mind, it's fine. I mean, I think that's something you only notice if it's really bad, where you don't know where you're going. I've never had any issue finding where I'm supposed to be though. Like I don't know. Maybe people want lighted signs. I know maybe they want like neon signs to be like, "Hey, idiot, come sit here." Like I don't know. But to me, it's, I don't know. Maybe that's an incomplete grade for me because I'm not in there enough as a fan to know. Like, okay, I came in to look for this one thing. Where is it? Now, maybe some of like the individual food or drink stands that might be around in there. Maybe there's not enough signage to find those, or not enough stuff to say, hey, go towards section, 100 whatever, or 300 whatever to find, find the beers or the food that you're looking for. Like maybe that's an issue, and I could see that definitely being a problem. But the main thing I'm concerned with is finding out where the hell my seat is, and I think that's all signed pretty well.
Yeah. So. And by the way, it's been rattling my brain since I brought it up. I'm pretty sure it was the Detroit Red Wings, their first game where they got their ass whipped. Anyway, so to summarize this survey, if it was a one sentence answer, I feel like your answer would be staff is nice. Mm-hmm. Place needs a lot of work.
Yeah. No, the people are great. The whole place is disgusting.
Yeah.
The whole place is disgusting, needs a lot of work. And needs a new everything, new image, new you name it, man. Like it just needs new. Like if you got to do like a whole overhaul like they did in Tampa with the whatever the hell the name, the Amalie Arena, that's what it's called now. Yep. If you got to do something like that with it, cool. If that means like, I know they had to cut out some seats to make it work because they put a giant organ and like neon lights up in the upper level at the one end, which looks incredible. And they have like a party stand at the one. I don't know if I think it's at the opposite end of the rink, but do stuff like that, man. Like that kind of stuff's cool. And like make it look visually interesting. Visually, I don't know. You can't really make it intimidating, but like make it visually something to look at instead of just all blue walls and gold ring sponsor banners. Like that's the big thing. Like, I don't. People look at the white tiles up there. It's like that's acoustic stuff, but like you can't really do a lot about that. But like, just I don't know. Make it look nicer. Just make it look appealing. Make it look like someplace you want to go. Wow, okay, I'm glad I'm here.
Make some changes from the first night that it opened, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Before we do our weekly starting five, and again, we're going to draft TV villains this week. Let's just spend a couple minutes talking Rochester Amherst. They lost this week, so their season is over. I feel like it was when it comes to the Sabres prospects, good and bad. The good with JJ Peterka had 7 goals and 12 points in 10 games. He was phenomenal. Archer Rusalanian, a guy that we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
He was great. He was even better. He had 8 goals in 12 points in 10 games. Krebs didn't score a goal, but he had 11 assists. So he facilitated a lot in these playoffs. Those guys had a very good postseason. So, from a Sabres perspective, you like to see that. On the other end, Jack Quinn, who's been phenomenal in Rochester all season long, didn't do shit in the playoffs, quite frankly. I mean, 0 goals in 10 games and just 2 assists. And maybe from an organizational standpoint, the most frustrating part is UPL. Now, a major reason, and we've talked about this on the show several times, because I've asked you, like, why is this guy in Rochester and not back up in Buffalo once he got healthy again? And the consensus was, well, it's more beneficial for him to be in Rochester, play every night, be in a playoff race, get that kind of pressure and experience, and then see how he performs in the playoffs. Well, unfortunately, we didn't get to see any of that. He got hurt. He would have been able to play had Rochester advanced to a game 4 in this round, but they didn't. So they got swept in the rout. So that really sucks. So I don't know, just kind of talk for a minute or two about what you really liked amongst these and what might translate with the Sabres. And also, I should also Samuelson, who I don't think had anything to prove at all whatsoever in Rochester. So that's why I didn't mention him. But anyway, he was hurt. But these 4 guys are guys that, potentially could have a role, maybe even a significant role with the Sabres next year. How do we evaluate what we saw over these last couple of weeks?
Playoffs are always interesting, for guys that have a future in the NHL, that like their future is probably next season. It's always interesting to see how it plays out. And reading up on what the guys were saying today, Paterka said, he looked like a guy, especially after last night's game. He seemed like a guy that was really bothered by losing, which is you like to see that. But everything that he was talking about today was about basically hitting all the checkpoints that you want for a guy like that. He wants to learn how to better pace himself the NHL level. He wants to be better away from the puck, which that's the biggest thing I think we've talked about all season with him. The offense is great, but if he can't defend worth a damn, it's not gonna really be that. Not gonna have too long of an NHL career doing that. But he's really taken that to heart, and that's great. And I think we're gonna see a guy that's gonna really make a run at being with the team to start off next season. I'm really big on Paterka going into next year. Quinn, listen, I know people are upset about his postseason performance. He struggled. He basically said he's healthy. Just little nicks and knocks here, but nothing nobody else is dealing with in the playoffs now. Granted, if it comes out like in a couple of weeks, they're like, oh, his foot fell off, they had to reattach it. Okay, well maybe that's what happened. But no, he played really solid the last couple of games against Laval. Good, his game was coming around. I'm not sweating him one bit. He's going to be in the NHL next season. If he's not, I would be shocked. I would be shocked beyond shocked if he's not on the Sabres right out of camp. Injuries aside, of course, if he doesn't make the team because he's hurt, then please don't, don't cold take expose me. But he's going to be with the team next season. I would find it impossible for him not to be. Ruotsalainen, man, I want him to be part of the team because I think he's proven a lot at the AHL level. I think he's proven he's a very good AHL player at the very least. If he can put it together for what they need him to do in the NHL, that's a huge boost because he's shown what kind of player he could be in Rochester. Which, I mean, hey, listen, it goes back to the question I asked a few weeks ago. Like if he's just turns out to be a great AHL player, man, that's a really good guy to have down there. Sure. It's a really good guy to have down there. And if he turns out to be like your 13th forward, 14th forward, okay, but be honest with him, right from the get-go. Don't just stash him in Rochester and be like, okay, buddy, anytime. Don't pull that kind of stuff. But I would like to see him back. And I think I want to believe there's a role for him in the bottom 6, probably in the 4th line. But to me, he's a dynamite player. I like his game quite a bit, but I'm not a GM. I only pretend to be one on the internet. and as Krebs had, again, Krebs is an NHL guy. Like he was weaving passes like crazy. The end of the season and into the playoffs, he's fine. Like he's a Sabre. Same for Samuelsson. I know Amherst fans are pissed that he didn't suit up once, but like, let's be real. There was not a chance he was going to play. Okay. Yeah. Like he was playing on the top pair with Dahlin the last 10 games of the season. You're not having that dude play a single game after, banging up his ankle, blocking a shot. You're not having that.
If he's not,
you're not dressing that guy ever. Right. No, that's that. I mean, it was crazy to think that there was a chance.
Right.
I think Luukkonen said today that his injury was a hamstring and he could have played game 4. Maybe who knows? Maybe he could have, but that's such a bummer. It's such a bummer for him. And hamstrings stink. Like that's something, you just got to kind of deal with. I'm glad it wasn't a groin injury. Groin injuries for goalies can just stick with you forever. And that's almost like being cursed. Right? But a healthy off season for him. I want to see him really take charge in camp next season. I want him, I know the table was set for him to be the backup this year, and he, just didn't work. Didn't play anywhere near well enough to get a spot. I want him to take control of it in camp next year. They're gonna sign somebody. They're gonna acquire a goalie. They're gonna do something at the NHL level. At least they better. But I want Luukkonen to be like, hey, F you. That's supposed to be my job. I'm gonna play like it's my job. Like that's what I want to see out of him. Whether it happens, we'll see. But if he doesn't bring it next year,
I'm disappointed.
I'm really wondering what you got to do with him.
I'm disappointed we didn't get to see him in the playoffs. I would have liked to have seen more. I feel like if he was a question mark before for fans and for the organization, more importantly, he certainly still is, because we didn't really get to see anything definitively going forward. So,
but people, Amherst fans loved the way Dell played in the playoffs, and listen, he made a lot of great saves. He was still like a 900 save percentage guy. You need better than that. There's a few backbreakers in each game against Laval where you're just like, oh man, need a save. Like anytime you're like, oh man, really need a save there.
Right.
If it's like some crazy play, crazy shot, he goes all out and you miss it. Like, okay, stuff happens. But when you're sitting there going like, I don't know about that one. Like that's, they love Dell down there. Great. Keep him in the AHL if you want to, but I don't know that the Sabres organization is too excited. If they bring him back on an AHL only deal, maybe that's how that works, but I can't see the Sabres going gung ho to try to keep him around.
Right. All right. Well, so now we're in complete off-season hockey mode now that Rochester's done. So I look forward, again, I've said this before on Maintenance Day podcast. I look forward to your guys' off-season and how you and Lance are going to approach covering that. Let's wrap with our starting 5 draft. It was not last week, it was 2 weeks ago. It was a very
long 2 weeks ago.
Special day for camp team Pat Moran here. It was we did rock band frontman, and this was lopsided, man. 75%.
Stupid.
I drafted Freddie Mercury, Mick Jagger, Steve Perry, David Lee Roth, and Steven Tyler. And Joe went with Robert Plant, Roger Daltrey, Bruce Dickinson, Ozzy Osbourne, and Chris Cornell. This was my biggest win total percentage yet.
Yeah.
I still trail our series big time.
Yes.
28-15. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason sometimes for how these things go. I do think I was very confident in the roster I drafted.
Right. You should have been. I said you should have been. I said you were going to win anyways.
You did predict. I did not think it was going to be that much. I will say this. Sometimes having a first pick could be advantageous big time. So I would say being able to get Freddie Mercury first overall right off the bat, because we saw a lot of replies, which I don't like that, and you don't either.
It drives me nuts. Oh, you got Freddie, or you got the number 1 guy. That's it. It's over. Like,
right, exactly.
Why do we even bother doing a poll if you're just going to judge it off the one guy?
Exactly.
Like that's so dumb.
I agree 100%, but a lot of people did say that. I would say if you maybe in terms of voting percentage, I would say if I was a columnist and analyzing this game and running my post-game column, I would say not taking Mick Jagger with one of your first two picks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not saving me though. Like nobody killed me for not taking Jagger.
Right.
Everybody killed me for not taking Freddie, who I had a 0%.
You had no chance to take him. In fairness to you, I agree.
I had a couple people tell me like, I can't believe you didn't take Freddie Mercury. It's like, dude, I didn't have a fucking chance, man. Okay,
right. Look,
it's not like I like flipped a coin and lost. Okay,
I love picking up the W, man, and I love having the opportunity.
It's a charity W for you.
I love being able to talk some shit. I'm not going to lie about that, but yeah, I agree with you 100% that could just be dumb. So let's see what happens.
We should do like it. We should do it like the Olympics. Get rid of the top and worst pick. Just pick the middle three. It's just like when there's an absolute number one person, you got to be like, okay, like top are each of our first pick and last pick. Just judge it by the middle three that we're doing, because it's insane. Right, it's like the Soprano rule. Like you pick Tony Soprano or the Sopranos, you're gonna fucking win. Like, it's just ridiculous.
I agree. You're not wrong. All right, so this week we're doing best TV villains. Now these are villains that were on TV shows. I mean, it's pretty goddamn self-explanatory, right? Let's see what we come up with. And again, we're drafting these live, so I have no earthly idea whatsoever where Joe's going with any of these. And same for me. Anyway, so obviously I had the first pick because we just talked about it. I took Freddie Mercury, game over, game set match. I could be wrong. You never know. I look right now, at least I look at my list, and I don't see there is no Tony Soprano or Freddie Mercury.
I don't think so.
I could be wrong, but
hey, maybe we'll see how it shakes out, I guess. But
I'm really interested. I don't have any graphics for these guys, so we're just rocking here. All right, you're up first, man. What do you got?
I did like the one graphic you had of Cesar Romero as the Joker. I love any picture of Cesar Romero playing the Joker. I love, because it's the most insane version of the Joker you could find.
I'll give you one spoiler alert too. I'm not picking him, so
spoiler alert. He didn't make the cut on my list either. Right. So that was a good job by you.
Who did make the cut? Because you're up first.
Yeah, my number one pick, and like I've been so kind of out of it with TV stuff just the last couple of years. I know everybody was watching tons of TV, the pandemic and all that stuff, but like I could not get my mind off of two or three people, and the one that stuck out most often was Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones. What a piece of shit. I mean, God, the most hated child actor, I think, in history. Like, that kid shows up in Batman Begins way before he did Game of Thrones, and people are like, throw him off the balcony, Batman. Do it. Throw him off the balcony. Like, it's like, no, come on. That's just a kid. But like, yeah, no. Damn. Fuck Joffrey. What a piece of shit.
I'm not lying. He was number one on my list too.
I don't blame you. Like,
I'm staying true to my board for better or for worse this week. He was number one on my list. Dude, what he did to Sansa when he married her, his brother Tyrion, he tortured prostitutes.
Everybody.
And then he was a coward too. Like when Stannis attacked to try to take power, he basically ran and his brother took charge and fought. Yeah, complete piece of shit. Early in season 4 when he died,
him dying getting poisoned wasn't good enough. I needed him to get poisoned, set on fire, melted gold dumped on his head, eaten by wolves, killed by the wildlings. the Night King need to come and stab him through the face. Everything. Just do everything possible to him to get him out.
I'm really, I'm upset here. I really was hoping you'd get a little bit artsy and I'd be able to jump on that.
No,
did not happen. All right, so Joffrey is gone. I got the next two. My first one, I'm gonna go to the Sopranos and Livia Soprano. Okay, she only around for like 2 seasons in full, and then like kind of CGI'd into the 3rd season because unfortunately in real life she died. You want to talk about TV villain, dude? She literally tried to have Tony killed.
Yep.
She was like a literal joyless human being. Just the worst of everything was all in her. And what I did kind of like throughout the series, because again, she was gone by the beginning of season 3, is even in her death for years in future seasons, she still had like this psychological stranglehold over Tony Soprano in these sessions with Dr. Melfi and just in a lot of everyday things. So she really got to him, man. She was just an evil person, a terrible mother. So a perfect TV villain. That'll be one. The other one, this might not resonate with most fans, and I'm If it don't, it don't.
It's always a bad sign when you say that about one of your picks.
Every time I've told you this before. In fact, last week on Twitter, I remember we talked about, let's go back to the rock band thing real quick. Mm-hmm. Joe knows 1,000 times more rock music than I do. Joe's a rock music guy, whether it's modern or past. You know a hell of a lot more about rock than I do. But yet I crush in the poll. I am an 80s guy. I'm very confident that my 80s knowledge is on par with anybody. But every single time we do something from the 80s, I usually get my ass whooped.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm going to go back to the 80s because he's number 3 on he was number 3 on my big board, and he's my second pick here.
Oh, I think I know. Ewing. Yeah, I knew it. As soon as you said 80s, I was like, I know who this is.
J.R. Ewing. Who shot J.R., man? That was like growing up. That was like the big mystery of my childhood. It was it was so popular too, who shot JR, because he was such an asshole on the show that like literally everybody on that show had motive to murder him. He was he was hated. He was a greedy oil tycoon, just a perfect traditional TV villain. So yeah, Livia Soprano, JR Ewing. You're up for 2.
Okay, so okay. No, there's one there's a pick I'm gonna save for my last one, because I think it could be controversial.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, good one. He's on my list too.
Gus, oh my God, played by Giancarlo Esposito. I almost said Giancarlo Stanton. Like, no, the Yankees outfielder did not play Gus Fring. But Giancarlo Esposito just, oh my God, what just ownership of a role.
Sure.
And like he was quiet, and the more quiet he was, the more you're like, oh God, he's gonna kill everybody.
Public perception was good. Like,
people thought
he was a good guy.
Yeah, no, certainly thought he was the best.
Sure.
But like, holy God Almighty, like that role almost stole the show for good 3 seasons maybe. Just an unbelievable. That's a great performance and a great role.
Mm-hmm.
Giancarlo Esposito as Gustavo Fring. Holy God, that made him as like a superstar actor too, because he was just kind of like a character guy, showed up in some random stuff. Now he's getting like roles in Marvel, Star Wars stuff, and like he's like the lead role in a video game series. Like, okay, man, go for it. You owned it. So yeah, Gustavo Fring. And I'm gonna go with. Listen, there are some series that are just like automatic standbys for whether we do a series ranking, a show rank, like whatever. There's always one episode, like one series where you're just like, okay, somebody from that series is going to be on there. Now is that time. Marlo from The Wire.
Oh my God.
Marlo Stanfield was. Oh my God. Oh my God. That
was literally my next pick.
So there's another show that I watched called Bosch. I don't know if you ever watched it. It was on Amazon, and like there's a new series on what they're called free TV or whatever. But he plays a guy who's basically the main character Bosch's like partner. And the whole time I'm like, you're not a good guy. Like the same guy plays him. I'm just like, you're not a good guy at all. Like, no, you're Marlo. You're fucking evil, man. Like, get out of here. But yeah, Marlo, oh my God. Every and like another one who was just kind of like quiet, low key, but like did everything to try to kill everybody in the scene. Like that dude, it's such a compliment to somebody when they can show up in another role and you're like, oh no, that guy's playing him. Shit, he's got to be bad. Sometimes you play a role so well, you're just like, you're stuck with it for good.
Gustavo Fring was in the middle of my pack in my top 10. Marlo Stanfield was number 4. He was literally going to be my next pick.
Oh man,
such a complex character too, man. And he started out like big time. He's just like a little big time drug dealer. Next thing you know, he's the man. He grew in the empire. Yeah, just an absolutely fucking ruthless dude, man. God, that's such a good show, man. That's a great pick.
Thank you.
All right.
Your J.R. Ewing pick is great too. You just might have been too early for that one.
I think maybe. But again, I'm staying true to my board today.
No. Listen, stay true to yourself. That's the point of these.
Usually you pick a couple in some of these categories, like going back to last week again. They're great. Like Bruce Dickinson. Like he wasn't on my radar. You know what I mean? Everyone you've picked, at least so far, were very, very high on my radar. Literally, you got 2 of my top 4, and Gus Fring, I think, was 6 on my board. All right, so I got 2 more here. I'm gonna go I'm going to go Sons of Anarchy, Clay Morrow.
Ooh.
Okay. He was, the longtime president of the motorcycle club. And, I mean, listen, he tried to have Tara killed. I mean, I can go on and on for reasons why. There was very little redeeming about him if you wanted to argue and say he always put the club before anyone else, you could say that, but he put himself before the club too.
Yeah.
A lot of times trying to save his own ass. He was just a huge pile of shit. Had a great show.
That was Ron Perlman, right?
Yep.
Oh man, that dude, anything that dude's in, I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, he was great, and he was a TV villain. And then the other one, I'm gonna go back to who you picked with the first pick, same show, is I'm gonna go with Cersei Lannister. Now Joffrey Baratheon again he's the GOAT villain, I believe. Cersei had a little bit of redeeming qualities about her, at least at the beginning, but as the series went on and she lost everyone she loved, not so much. I think about it this way. If you want to argue she's a TV villain, she banged her one brother and she's tried many times to murder her other brother. Pretty much everything you need to know. And obviously,
and she loved Joffrey unquestionably.
Yes. And she was literally willing to let her city crumble to the ground at the end because she wasn't going to surrender. So to Daenerys. So yeah, I feel pretty good about those. I'm still kind of reeling a little bit from Marlo Stanfield being gone, but all right. So those are my two. You got two more. These will be your last two.
See that now. This is something where it's tempting because sometimes we get dinged for being fishing from the same well. Like if you pick another character from a show that you already took somebody from,
sure.
Sometimes you get dinged for it. I'm gonna tempt fate in a big way by picking characters from two shows that I've already picked from in this one. Because I think they stand out more than the other names that I've got on my list. Now the other names are great, like they're all great, evil, terrible characters, like whatever. But these two stand out for me. The first one is Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones.
we're crushing it with
a viscerally hated character. Like he didn't get enough run for how rotten and what a piece of absolute shit he was. But my God, like everything that he did to Reek, I mean, basically calling him Reek.
Yeah, he's just
turning him into a eunuch or cut off his wiener, or like either way, like doing that, like what he did to Sansa, holy shit! Like Joffrey sets that one up, but like Ramsay
killed his father.
Right, like, everything about this guy is awful, and that character is a big reason why I almost dumped watching Game of Thrones after season 5, because that was just such a disgusting, rotten, awful character. I was like, man, if this dude's gonna keep going in this whole thing, fuck this show. I'm not watching this guy keep racking up wins for being a piece of garbage. No, fuck that. Fuck him. Fuck that. I don't mean to use the F word so much, but God, fuck Ramsay. That was an easy one for me. This one might upset some people, but I firmly stand by this. Walter White from Breaking Bad. He is the biggest villain of the entire series. He's a selfish, self-righteous, greedy, awful human being, and he leads to his doings lead to the deaths of numerous people.
I like it.
And he ultimately, like, he drives everybody crazy, and he gets himself screwed over because he thinks he's a big time drug kingpin. He's not. He's just some dumbass science teacher who thinks he's doing the right thing by getting into the meth game, and he's instantly like over his head and everything, and he doesn't handle anything appropriately. He's just an absolute piece of human garbage. Walter White sucks ass, which drives me nuts when he's like, people are just like, oh man, I love Walter White. He's so cool. I'm like, are you fucking okay? Like, what you watch what he did, right? You watch the show, right? You understand like everything that he did. It's like, oh, but he's Heisenberg. He's cool. It's like, no, he's a drug maniac. Like he's a psycho. No, Walter White gets to be a huge piece of garbage and gets away with it a lot in these polls. Yeah. Studying these polls and shit, man. Like I'm just kind of like, Walter White's sitting right there in front of you. Like he's a horrendous person.
Listen, I agree with you 100%. But I was kind of wrong. I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, I think there's a lot of Breaking Bad fans who actually would say they hate Skyler more.
Yeah,
but that's not. She's not. There's a difference between not liking someone and being a villain. Like there's some people on shows that are, like for an example, The Office is my favorite show ever. Dwight Schrute, a lot of people, and I did the first time I watched it. I hated Dwight. Dwight wasn't a villain.
No, he sucked. He was like, man, what a
just kind of an asshole. he did too many good things to be considered a villain.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas Walter, I agree with that. That's controversial. I do like it. All right.
Well, like if a bad guy's got a redeeming quality, are they totally a bad guy? Like that, I had that kind of conflict with with the Winter Soldier, because you're like, oh man, what a bad guy, and it's like, no, his mind's been altered by the Russians, and like he's like their he's their secret guy. He's not actually bad. We know he's not bad, but he's being used bad. Walter White did nothing redeeming. He didn't do anything to help anybody out, at all. Like there's no life that got better by being around Walter White. He ruined his family. He ruined everybody.
I got a dilemma here. So I got the last pick, and it's down to 2 for me. We're going cartoonish here. It is a TV show. It's been around forever. And my last pick's going to be Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Just a rich, nasty, horrible man whose only obsession in life is getting richer. I remember some episodes. I don't watch it anymore, but I did for a long time, for a long stretch. Turned Bart against his family. He tried to seduce Marge. I remember that. He dumped nuclear waste before. He's a real shitbag. He's a good TV villain. I don't know how that's going to resonate. I'll tell you the one that I was going back and forth with, which I think might have been, every time I pick someone controversial, somebody who's done shit off, out of character, like the real life person, I paid the price with every single poll. I wanted to take Francis Underwood from House of Cards. And I don't even know how popular that was or how many people watched it, but Kevin Spacey obviously played him. I don't even know if you watched it.
That leans a little too close into real life.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm not going to fuck with that one. But before this shit happened with Kevin Spacey, he was a great villain. I mean, he was a great bad guy on House of Cards, just a horrible, corrupt politician. I didn't take him. And then the other 2 that I have written down that I didn't take, I'm surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised, but I'm still surprised that you took Joffrey first and that I didn't get Marlo. I thought I would be able to get Marlo Stanfield in round 3, but you beat me to it. Anyway, the 2 that I did at least consider was the Joker from Batman, the TV show, obviously not the movies, because I mean, I watched that growing up in reruns, the syndication. I wasn't old enough to watch it, but I remember he was a good TV villain. And then, but this might have been crossing the line about being technical. You want to go the comedic route. Newman from Seinfeld was a good TV villain, and he treated everyone like shit, and nobody liked him except for Kramer at times, and even Kramer really didn't like him that much.
Yeah. I think with comedy villains, it's a little trickier just because like they make you laugh sometimes or a lot of times. Sure. And then it's like, how can they be so bad? They make me laugh. And it's like, well, look into what they did. Then you're just kind of like, oh yeah, no, they're a piece of shit.
As I analyze these lists, I'll read them out right now. So to recap one more time, Joe selected Joffrey Baratheon, Gustavo Fring, Marlo Stanfield, Ramsey Bolton, and Walter White. I drafted Livia Soprano, J.R. Ewing, Clay Morrow, Cersei Lannister, and Mr. Burns. I'll say this. I think, looking at this objectively, I think you have a better team. What could hurt both of us, more you than me, only because you have 2 of them and I have 1, is if there are fans out there, and there's not many, but there are some who do not like Game of Thrones, who I've seen on Twitter. If they don't watch the show, obviously that's 2 of your characters gone, and only 1.
It's the risk you take.
For me. And Walter White, which I agree with you 100%. That could prove to be controversial. I think what hurts me the most when I look at my roster is, we talked about this earlier, J.R. Ewing might not resonate whatsoever with people who are under, say, 30, 35 years old. He might not resonate whatsoever. And some people might look at Mr. Burns and say, he's a fucking cartoon character on an animated TV show. And that might hurt me. Final thoughts?
You know what? I listen, I like both of our lists. I like both of our lists quite a bit. And, we both took some risk, which I'm proud of both of us for doing, because it could have been very easy to just kind of just be like, no, I'm going to be safe. I'm just going to pick these people and blah, 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 blah. Like, just not going to pick anybody from the same show. Just going to go down the list. Like, because then you're going to argue with people in your mentions. Like, why did you pick this guy? Why did you pick this girl? Like, I'm not down for that. I wanted to pick the 5 most evil people I could find on TV.
I think it should be close. I think this was a fun category. I enjoyed this. Make sure you check out Maintenance Day, Joe Yerdon, Lance Lozowski every Monday on your favorite podcasting platform. By the way, it's a holiday weekend. Everyone has a nice, safe, fun holiday weekend.
Grill up some meats.
Thanks for doing the pod, buddy. No, I always appreciate you, man.
Yeah, it's always fun. Especially when we talk bad guys.